Jenny Woodward's marketing
She would have been,
saying
it would have been before
that
council
was
meeting too.
bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I mean, they'll be gone. There's no time.
Which way I will
So,
never know.
I probably just need to make sure
Full battle.
that is, I don't know, I don't know.
I mean, I can't take it. I personally don't believe an election like that should ever be rigged, because it may just go, but then, I don't remember them being that way when I was younger. Where you're all gonna be.
No, they December.
I think they both should. I mean, they got to, you know.
I know my great-grandparents always used to swear that. Of course, my great-grandparents always thought it was anybody equal state, so, you know.
Yeah, well, I've heard people just say it will say, okay, I'm not, you know.
Okay, we're ready?
They're ready.
Are y'all sure y'all ready?
No, that's a lie. I just say it on my ear.
Right.
Hello, Amanda. How are you today?
How are you?
All right, we're gonna call this meeting, to order. We don't do any motions tonight, no, nothing like that. It's just strictly, this is an informational meeting and a discussion, and so, could I have a roll call, Misty?
Connie Reed. Here. Carl Kincaid.
Present.
Stephanie Merle. Here. Brian Hill.
Here.
Scott Glover.
Here.
Okay, and so everybody's here, that's good, that's nice, okay. Anybody got any questions on the minutes of the October 1st meeting? Well, then let's move on down to budget and finance. You've got the September financial statement in your packet. You had a chance to look it over. And as you can see, we have the new
Nobody's not here tonight. You guys.
Welcome to the house.
So basically, this is our quarterly report. So we're looking for 25%. Ideally, revenue would be over that, expenditures under. We have some that don't quite meet that. Like the property taxes, of course, you know, October, that's when they start rolling in, so October through February. And then we know we're over in electric because we talked about that before. The interest earnings, they look low, but that's because the local government investment pool interest is not in there.
Usually.
No, it's not. But I looked over it, and since it was a quarterly, I was looking for 25% on each one, and then I wanted to know why it wasn't.
What is this interest rate?
That's it, the local government investment.
What do we do it?
Our bank, so we make interest on our checking account. Let's see. Local government investment pool. And I updated the sheet, and Melody said that you were adding up some interest, so I just went ahead and closed it right at the bottom for you. You're welcome. Do y'all have any questions?
If there's no questions, we'll move on down. Discuss the resolution of the town of White Bluff, Tennessee, authorizing the use of. Oh, no, you have a question, Scott?
I did. I was just trying to formulate it.
Oh, okay. Well,
So, still about the interest. Is this the general fund?
Yes.
Okay, so converted to someone else.
But that's just what's in the local bank account.
Yes.
Mhm.
Interest earning. So, the interest earning is not what's in the general fund, we have that in the bank, right?
So this right here is in the bank,
Right.
but it is estimated at $41,234.
Right.
That number right there includes the interest from the local government investment pool for the year. So if you look at that 107, it's actually over. But it's not in, so you have to look here.
I'm just trying to find out. You say it's in our bank account. Right.
So 1,150 is in our banking.
So that's interest.
Mm-hmm.
How much money do we have in our account? Is that what is the general fund?
Oh, we've got more than just interest in the general fund.
Oh, no, I'm asking.
Okay.
The interest earned is from the money on the general fund.
Yes, it's in the general fund.
Okay,
Yes.
so this, where we're on the general fund, right now we have how much in the general fund?
Has a actual number what's in there today. It changes, so I would actually have to pull that.
Okay.
Yeah.
General fund changes daily, just about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for making a report, say, you have a cutoff time, and say at this date, right here, the general fund was here, and, right, so right now, is this what's in our general fund at this date?
I have to look, because I'm going to look at this.
Imagine how I feel.
Yeah. I understand.
So this was cut off September 30th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the report was pulled for that date. So today you would have an October even.
Oh, that's fine, I just,
Just to be on the safe side, I don't want to answer anything with inaccurate information. So I'll ask Melody, but I think all of this here is what year to date it is. But I can't promise that. So I'll ask her just to make sure that everything's here and that's what is supposed to be in general fund, because I think it's more than that that's in general fund.
you know, be prepared, there's kind of crazy questions I ask.
It's okay. I tell you what, if you asked me before, I'll bring you the number.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
Okay. Moving on down to, this is you two, is you discuss a resolution for the town of White Bluff authorizing the use of Omnia state contracts for procurement purposes. So I'm gonna let you have this conversation, you've talked to them the last couple of days.
There's a lot of work that goes into this, guys. I've been working on this for a while. So, state contracts, they've already been vetted. We know that they're in compliance with the state. The state actually has a special price, cheaper than we can normally get it. So, if you look at the very last page, at the bottom, I had, through Verkada, which is the access control, there was a $25,000 difference just between their regular price they give out to everybody and their state contract price. Through Quill is through Omnia, they've got a state contract. Just on the things that we get, and this is just like one item per one item comparison. So the whole overall savings there is like $475. But that's just item by item, not if we get a large order or anything like that. I had actually reached out to Omnia and asked them to send some people with state contracts for the projects that we were doing, just to get prices on them. And I put one in here that's actually not a state contract. They're VC3. They're partners with PML, which we're a member of. I've got a lot more information on them because they're more local government knowledgeable. Like they know what we need, the certifications, like with the Microsoft, they've actually got a government cloud that they use instead of like Microsoft Business and firewalls there. So I got a lot of information there on them, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at. I couldn't find anybody else for document scanning. The access control, I did have somebody. They were supposed to turn it into me today, and they didn't turn it in, so I couldn't put it on here.
Is this all of the, just to get my head around it, is this all of the security, the key,
Yes.
the key carding and everything? Okay.
Yes. So one of the things that VC3 does is they fill out your grant. So since they are very familiar with what is required to fill out the grant, they do that like this. She's already filled out 4 and got them approved. The grant that we're looking at is not a reimbursement grant, it's a funding grant. So since we don't have an actual line item for managed IT or anything like that, we've lumped it into the general, we're eligible for it. But it closes November 27th. So that's probably something that we really, if there's any way that we can discuss it at the next time to kind of get this in the works, then that would probably not be a bad idea.
So Omnia is a partner or works with CML, correct?
No, Omnia holds state contracts.
Okay.
So Omnia, I reached out to them. Like I said, this was like a whole process because once you start digging in, and then you find this out, and then you find this out, and then you go, oh my goodness, that right there, they're shining. You know, they kind of do everything we need them to do, and you know, basically the managed IT is what I'm worried about right now because the grant's out there for it, and it closes November 27th.
How much is that grant though, potentially?
I would actually have to talk to Mackenzie about it. I know that it's a reimbursement grant, so I don't know if it's based on population, if it's based on, you know, what we're actually getting done, if we're doing the whole thing. I think it even has, I think it's got a spot where you can use access control and get grant money back on that too.
Be great.
Okay, this, going back to this is really, really important to us because we found out that we are not covered by insurance. None of us, it's for the cybersecurity. If we get hit, and they say it's happening all over the nation, you didn't hear it on the news, but if we get hit, we have no insurance because we don't have this. Am I correct, Misty?
Well, it's true, because you have to have classes for your employees. So when I was talking to the rep, she was telling me, she said, you know, we have a strategic accountant, which basically they come monthly and meet with you. They handle your vendors. Like, say at 1 o'clock, our internet went down. Somebody's already on it because it's 24/7. So they have access to your AT&T. They call them and say, hey, what's the problem? It's down here. What can we do? Procurement, like if something happens to our cameras, they can actually go in and get those. They do 12 trainings per employee yearly. So they have the email system set up. You get extra training if you click on something you weren't supposed to. They are certified, Criminal Justice Information Services certified. Each one of their employees are. I don't think it matters too much to us because I was talking to Chief about it, and he said it's kind of like, what is it, through NCIC, and they use dispatch. So we don't have to have that, but I just thought that was a nice extra step because they knew that if they had to do anything with our police department that had anything to do with that, and the police department got audited, somebody who wasn't certified, then they would shut them down. So they just go above and beyond because they're used to working with government.
So what's your recommendation? What's our timeline? What's our next step, Misty, that you'd like the council to?
Well, I would most definitely like to work with VC3 because they'll got that grant and we can get that money back.
Yeah.
So, but I have been working on this, and it doesn't really look like that much information, but, oof. Like I said, you know, I had been talking to another person that was looking at the access control. They even came down here. We walked around, we looked at all the doors, and they were supposed to turn it in to me today, and I even sent them an email and was like, hey, you haven't gotten your quote. No response, so I don't know what happened there, but.
When we vote on this, Thursday, if we pass this resolution, does that give you the ability to get started on the grant, or do we have to, is there another step?
So that doesn't, this kind of fell in with here's the state grants, but I wanted to give you somebody else too to look at, like outside the box. But when I got to checking into her, I mean, it was perfect. So they don't do state grants, the state contracts. They're actually partners with PML. So they give PML a price, and since we're members of PML, we get the benefits of that price as well. So it's kind of a different, but still in the same realm. So what I would actually probably need is, would it be okay to work with VC3? That would probably be what, if that's how you want to go. Although,
To be able to apply for grants.
yes, I can apply, but I don't know.
Right.
The way the grant is set up, you have to have the merchandise listed. You have to have the prices out next to it. So I actually have to pin down who we're using
Okay.
so that I have that information to put into a grant. But if we use them, they put it all in there anyway.
So once this is voted on Thursday and there's something concrete, then you can get started.
Yes. So I can actually, I can bring, this was very compact. She sent me a whole thing that you can look at to see what they offer and what they do and how the price is broken down. But I just wanted to give you some information on it to get you guys thinking about doing the cybersecurity, especially since, the managed IT plus the cybersecurity, because we don't have insurance until we start doing something, so.
So just to remind us, like you said, we don't have anything right now set up in the budget, but we knew this was coming.
We knew it was coming, we prepared for it, we had the money there. However, the grant is actually, we're gonna give you the money to do it. It's not you do it and we'll pay you what you did. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's why they're looking at the whole cost. So, on the grant.
So you're hoping that this does not come out of our budget, is that what you're saying? The grant will take care of it?
That it's a good possibility.
Yeah.
It's a good possibility. I'm not saying 100%,
Yeah.
but a large portion of it might be able to not be spent on that.
What's TML?
Tennessee Municipal League.
Thank you for researching all this to begin with, to start with.
You're welcome.
I've been up here some this week, so I do know for a fact she put a lot of time in on it. She'd go in Melody's office and run everybody else out, and so she could talk and make some sense. So she's worked on this really hard. Appreciate it.
Those last two lines. What's this one referring to?
So, Verkada is our access control.
Alright.
Which one? Okay. Sorry, access control. So Verkada is our access control, and that's the two different prices. Like, the price up here is the state contract. If it wasn't state contract, it would be $25,000 more. Just little side notes to show you that we save money.
So is this through RJR? Or?
That is, so they are, Verkada is the manufacturer of the equipment.
Right.
R.J. Young goes under, I think, RICO, maybe on the state contract, but they're the ones that Verkada has partnered with to put their stuff in. So basically, they would be putting in all the locks and all that good stuff, setting up all of our stuff for that.
So you subcontract.
I would guess.
And what are we talking about, Quill?
So Quill, I use Quill to get the paper or
Who gets
paper
the free stuff
towels.
from Quill?
Huh?
Who gets the free stuff from Quill?
Who gets the free stuff?
It's just you work hard.
I'm making a joke because I've used Quill for years, and you always get the free items if you order so much. I'm just making.
We do. We have so many different points, but usually, you know, if there's plates that need or silverware or something like that across the office, I try to use those points for that. We don't get cool stuff, but yeah, that's who I use to get like a lot of just different things for the bid center, paper towels, toilet paper, soap, cleaning stuff, mop buckets, all that stuff.
And I use Amazon Business, I have a business account.
We have Amazon.
And,
I don't have an Amazon business.
yeah, so I buy a lot of stuff for my businesses through Amazon Business, and they tell you, I mean, I have just regular Amazon Prime, and the guy did it, so I always double check it, and sometimes it's the same, but a lot of times it's just,
A little bit cheaper.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right. That's how it works.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions on this? And she has put together a resolution. So we'll vote on this Thursday night.
And keep in mind that resolution is just as using the state contract as a viable option. So not locking down just on.
Okay. So moving on down to codes and permits, discuss a resolution of the town of White Bluff, Tennessee. Now, a lot of these go together, so it's not really as bad as it looks. First one is discuss a resolution of the town of White Bluff, annexing territory by our consent, and to incorporate the same within the boundaries of the town, and to approve a plan of services for real property. And this is for the property located at 3027 Westcott Road. And of course, it would come in, as we all know, as an R1. So I think the discussion tonight is annexing it, comes in as an R1, and plan of services. So we go on down. We go on down, we'd have a second and final reading ordinance zoning, Dixon County tax map. Low density, the entire public, now we'll have a public hearing, we'll proceed this action as a special call meeting.
So Mayor,
Those two go together.
4 and 5 go together,
Yeah.
absolutely. Last month, you all passed a resolution calling for public hearings on the annexation and the plan of service.
Yeah.
And we ran the notices in the paper and all that stuff. So this time, you're actually having the public hearing, and then you all will be voting to annex and then to put the zoning.
And the plan of services, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I just want to ask y'all while we're on that, and this isn't really directed to any one of these that we're looking at, but as far as my seat, I don't see any reason that annexing anything is a negative. That doesn't mean you have to go with another zoning down the road. It may have to stay R1. But I'm just curious, has anybody seen any negatives to annexing and going to R1 just from that act alone? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. But for me, it's really, I mean, you know, the more we take in, the better. And then if we decide not to rezone it at all later, then that's fine. But on this initial step,
I agree with you. If we annex it in, our town has control over it. If we don't, county has control over it.
It's not a very large portion.
That one.
No, that one's not. Okay. Does anybody have anything to say about it? Before we vote Thursday night? We're pretty good on that.
So this is the first time we're gonna vote on this? Second.
Second, once you go to public hearing.
I don't remember that.
You're like me, you slept through it, right?
I had CRS.
Okay. Everybody good? Ready to move on?
So, would it be possible to get an actual map of White Bluff here somewhere in this room? We can go up to it and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. I mean, I haven't lived here all my life.
I think, and I'll piggyback on that, I would, which I know is all in the works, but just my little bit, I would like for it to put it on there when we're, that way it's there.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be my ultimate, that way, and Jeff can have a clicker, or Amanda, whoever, be like, okay, this is, because I do agree, even, I've been here a long, long time, but there are some areas that I don't, if I never go there,
Yeah.
it just kind of pop in my head. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I have to ask sometime, now where does this have, who owned that? I go by who owned it.
Especially if it's a road that you don't hear a lot.
Like Buckhorn.
Like Buckhorn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think perfect, just to put it, if somebody could put it on their monitor and just put it up there, I mean, that'd be perfect.
That's mine, those are there.
Okay. So you think we'd do that Thursday night? Okay.
I'd throw 6 back in. That'd be great.
Okay. Move on down to 6 and 7.
6 and 7 is identical to 4 and 5, it's just on the
Buckhorn.
end of Buckhorn Road.
Yeah. And we all remember Buckhorn, so we don't have a map in here, we all know where that's at.
What?
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Buckhorn.
Did you say we all know where that is?
All but Scott.
It's the donut that did not get
Oh,
annexed
yeah.
in with all the other.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
And there's a road that runs by the dollar store out here, it's so long, that's where it's at.
All right.
I rode down there the other day.
Thanks for reminding me.
That would be, the request to be annexed in, public hearing, and planning services, it'll go just like 4 and 5 did. Then we move on down to 8 and 9. This is across Highway 70 from the previous Hog Heaven Restaurant. It's a discussion resolution calling for public hearing to the plan of services and annexation by owner.
This is the same steps that you did for 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 last month. This is their first reading here.
Their first, yeah, because that's the first reading ordinance, so, yeah, this is your first reading.
All these annexations came in at the same time, but this one is actually about 11-acre piece of property. And it's kind of equally split. 5 was already in the town, and 5 was in the county. So the annexation is for the remaining 5 acres. And then, of course, it would come in, and the whole thing would have an R1 zone.
We'll do first reading, we will not have a public hearing on that.
You're calling for public hearings.
Okay.
That's what you'll be doing Thursday night. And
Okay, call for
we'll
public hearing.
do that in December.
Yes, okay.
So even though the town border is at Jones Creek, this is before Jones Creek, but our border also only goes out so far from 70.
Yeah, correct.
And this is why we're maybe asking for this, so, because it's attached to that.
Correct.
Okay. I have seen the sign. he's got a piece of tape on it, and that is all back there.
Well, you'll see new signs after Thursday night if you all vote to move it ahead.
Okay. Bigger?
3 bigger. Like the ones at Westcott Road and Buckhorn right now.
So, we have any discussion on that? That will be a first reading. So Thursday night, we don't have a public hearing on that.
Not on these 2 options.
Yeah. Okay, can we move on down? Okay. Discuss second and final reading ordinance to rezone the R1 portion of Dixon County, Jazz Center property. Now, we talked about that, I know, last month. From R1, low density residential, to a C2, a highway commercial. And a public hearing will precede this action at the special call meeting. Do y'all remember that? Okay. I mean, we've got A here that we've got to talk about, or do some A.
Now you're just picking on me.
I know. I should apologize, but.
I'm big boy.
Real big boy, yes. Okay, but do we have any discussion on that? I know that we did talk about it, I think. Public hearing will precede this action at the special call meeting. All right, so we move on down to 11. Discuss first reading sprinkler requirements for structures with shared walls.
Mayor, I know this has been a long time coming. And Andrew apologized for not being here tonight and said that he would be glad to answer any questions that you may have on Thursday, but it's a reasonably short ordinance, and it stemmed from the request to have require sprinkler systems for structures with shared walls. That's basically what it says. I'm not going to read it to you unless you want me to. But basically, we're repealing and replacing Title 12, Chapter 1, Section 12-102, which is modifications. So when we adopt the International Building Codes, we make certain exceptions. Sprinkler systems was one of those exceptions. The height of weeds was an exception. So all of those things, anything that we've accepted before will stay in there. The height of weeds, 12 inches. But then we call out residential structures with shared walls requiring sprinkler systems. It applies to new construction. So anything already with a building permit or approved, it would not be required to retrofit. It doesn't require you to retrofit existing homes, that kind of thing. It does require ancillary structures, garages, et cetera, to be sprinkled if the home meets the sprinkler requirement. It puts onus on the owners to keep the system maintained and functional. And in the event that there is not water pressure in that area, it requires a water storage tank to feed the sprinkler system. In a nutshell, that's what that says. But I would encourage you to just read it, and then we'll discuss it again on Thursday.
Carl, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I know this is okay, so as we've talked about before here, for townhomes, I like this. I think it's probably necessary. For duplexes, I thought it was a little bit overkill, as we've discussed. But I'm thinking about that, and I just want to kind of see what your thoughts are. So let's just say, and I'll give you a couple examples. One, if there wasn't, because now that R2, you can do basically a split duplex. Whereas when I built my duplex, you could not. It was either R2 duplex or R2 house. So if you had a situation where someone was going to build one duplex and they didn't want to incur the cost, or they didn't have the water pressure for the system, you know, it's my thinking, and I just want to see if y'all agree, that you could actually now do a split duplex and avoid this whole issue, if you so desire, if you were just building one building. If that
When you
makes
say split
sense.
dudes, you're talking about like the ones that don't share, I mean, if it doesn't share a wall, then.
Correct, so, see, and then we couldn't do that years ago, it was duplex or not, and so now which I think if you're gonna build one duplex as a developer, you know, my opinion is you should separate them anyway, because what that does is give you the ability to sell them separately later, or you could keep both of them and rent them out, but if you do a duplex, then it's all or nothing. So with that said, if that makes sense, if you think I'm right in what I'm saying, then I'm gonna go ahead and support that on the duplex level as well, because I do think you have options if you don't want to do this, or if you don't have the water or pressure. Because I think if you're doing townhomes, you're gonna have the water pressure to make this happen.
Well, remember with the tank system, it makes the water issue moot.
Well, the only question I would have with there is on like a single duplex, what kind of cost factor would that, put onto the builder? Because I don't want to be to where, I just really want to be careful with some of the stuff that I've heard about sprinkler systems, that you don't kill your project completely. But I think there's options if you're just doing one duplex on a country road, that you could separate them if you so desired and not have to.
I believe you could, but, and don't hold me to this number, this is as my memory serves. But when Eric was kind enough to get them to bring the trailer and everything up here,
Mhm.
when I asked those questions, and as my memory serves, it was under 10 grand. It was not.
Correct, and that's,
It was
so is
not
that with the
with the
water?
tank.
Okay,
That's with the
because
tank.
I had actually talked, and I think we've had a conversation too, with some of the installers, and it's not unreasonable.
I'm from the impression I got strongly was it's common and not a big deal.
Gotcha.
So I don't, and I may be wrong, I mean, it depends on how thin the margins are. I don't think it'll be a deciding factor.
So let me ask, this is Jeff question, so let's just say that, and I'm not trying to pick on him, but, if we do this and this gets passed before any permits are pulled for Church and 70 townhomes, they will be required to, if they're connected, right?
You have to remember that 70th Church has an approved plan. And if they were to choose to move ahead with that plan, I would say this does not apply.
Correct, I would agree with you, but if they get a new plan, then
They're
it
bringing
takes
back a
longer.
new plan, I would expect this would be passed before they would get anything. I would say that it would, but we need to ask Andrew if they've just started the process, does that then grandfather?
Gotcha.
I don't know.
That makes sense, yeah.
I don't know.
I was just kind of curious, because that's going to be probably the, if you're looking at the future, I don't know that we've got anything else coming down the pipeline that this is going to apply to soon other than that. So I was just kind of curious if it would, which I'd be fine with that. I don't, I'm not trying to be, I don't know, because a lot of our people, they're builders and developers and things, but I don't think this is unreasonable from the developer's point of view as far as the cost myself. I mean, you can absorb that, I believe.
Just a question to clarify, because when we had the recent zoning changes, Andrew had mentioned that we could no longer have two houses on one lot.
My understanding, you guys, I think, and I could be wrong, and you may be correct, but like Hornell Road, it's R2. But if you go through the process of doing and I forget the term, then you can still do that to this day on R2 if you go through the process. Is that?
I thought,
I would again have to get
To make sure.
clarification from Andrew from a legal perspective.
To my understanding on the new laws, and I may be wrong, again, I agree with the answer, that's the answer. To my understanding, it's no longer viewed on a per lot basis, it's an acreage viewpoint.
I would agree.
So you can assimilate them how, I mean, if this is your acreage, you can put them all right here if you want to, but that means the rest of your land is locked and cannot be developed. And you have to be, and all those other elements have to be in play that would limit, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, you have to this too.
I'm gonna defer.
Defer to answer.
Yeah.
So that's my guess, but,
Those have to be separate lots, so.
I think,
but I don't think it's
like I
usual.
say, I could be completely wrong, but I think you can still do it, as long as you don't go over the number that's allowed in an R2 for that
Which is
area
three.
of property. But I could, and that is a good Andrew question, because you're right, we've changed that since
Yeah.
then. So, because that's a, you know, that's a good question.
Just my guess, so for instance, you got 2 acres, R2, 3 per acre, you put all 6 bills, and well, but that means the rest of those 2 acres are open space.
Open space.
That's my understanding, I might be wrong.
So I guess as far as I'm, you know, on this, I'm good with that. I think, I don't see any reason not.
I wish we would have had it passed earlier,
Yeah, that would be good.
but we didn't, so.
So that'll be first reading and then,
Yeah. First reading Thursday night.
yes.
Any more questions on that? Moving on down, discuss first reading ordinance to amend the town of Whiteville zoning ordinance, Article 3, Section 3.100, accessory structures, and Article 5, accessory uses, and to repeal any ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict. Is that you, Jeff, or is that you, Amanda?
I think that's probably going to be me. I'm guessing as mine here. So this is, just as was discussed, this is an ordinance to amend our current 3.100, which is the accessory use regulations, which I think kind of goes to Councilmember Merle's point of you have a principal structure and accessory dwelling, which is part of what we're getting some clarification from Andrew on in terms of the densities and things like that, but not to muddle this particular regulation, but our accessory use regulations have been pretty lax up to this point. So there have been several situations where we've had people want to come in and build a pool house, and we don't know exactly how to classify a pool house. If it's an accessory structure, or if it's what kind of a structure is it? Should we allow them to have separate utility meters? Should we allow them to have a separate address? What, the fear being that it will ultimately end up being something that's rented out, and then you've got a whole separate structure that's being turned into a principal structure, so then you have 2 principal structures on one lot, and oh my gosh, it's pandemonium everywhere, right? So what this text proposes to do is to try to streamline the regulations a little bit better, and to try to marry up the International Building Code that the town uses with the zoning regulations a little bit better, and create that clarity for Roy or whoever is going out and doing permitting and inspection on such things. And so what it does is it proposes to expand the text a bit, and I'm going to just kind of hit the highlights, which is pretty much everything. So I apologize, this may end up sound like I'm just reading it to you, but here we are. I would say the first and foremost in the 3.100 is that each accessory use shall be customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal use established on the same lot. You'll see that same language over and over and over again. This is not something to be a secondary residence on the same lot. It is to be customarily incidental and subordinate to. Construction of accessory buildings shall not begin before consultation and proper permitting by the town of White Bluff. That's important because before there was no permitting process, truly. It was just kind of, if we found out about it, then we would go through the consultation process, but usually that was after the fact and we couldn't do anything about it. So this makes it very clear that you need to call us, we need to help guide you through the process. If there's a permit needed, great, we're going to help you get through there. If not, then great, we'll let you know, and good on you, and off you go. It clarifies that accessory buildings are to be in the rear yard only. not in your front yard or your side yard. Accessory structures are subject to standard residential permit fees. No accessory building shall be allowed to have an address different than the principal structure to which it is subordinate. No accessory building may have a separate utility meter from the main building it supports unless the local public authority provides written proof that it is necessary. This comes up when you're putting in a pool house. A lot of times they want to have,
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
And I like C&D, that's the reason why.
okay.
Because, but like you said with the pool house, like a dad do. So this isn't prohibiting a dad do, but it is making clear that it's going to be, in your language, subordinate to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so, I lost my train of thought. So if there's a pool house where it may be carrying a little bit of heavier load, if you have a shop where you like to do cabinetry work or something like that, you just have to provide us something that says, no, you actually need to have a different meter. It could be you have a house that was built in the 30s, and it's not necessarily anything, that you're doing that's wrong. It's just your house is older and it's not equipped to handle what you're wanting to do. Part E, any accessory building shall adhere to the underlying zoning regulations of the lot on which it is located. That's particularly important because that comes into your lot coverages. So if you've still got, even though we're going to a per lot acreage focused instead of a lot itself, we still have those underlying lot coverages, we still have setbacks, we still have those things that still need to be adhered to. The rest of them, F and G are still the same: single wide trailers, recreational vehicles, cargo containers, portable storage, on-demand containers, and other structures similar in construction and intent shall not be permitted as accessory buildings. And the construction of accessory buildings shall comply with all local, state regulatory requirements concerning zoning, building, health, and safety. Those are the same. We have that on the books right now. Part H, as defined by the International Building Code as adopted, accessory buildings may not have a full kitchen. That is a thing, that is sometimes the only thing that helps us determine the difference between a principal structure and a subordinate structure.
What defines a full kitchen?
As defined by the International Building Code.
I actually have that definition.
That's
It's defined as a room with a sink, a full-size cooking appliance, including a stove, oven, and refrigerator, and sometimes a dishwasher or built-in microwave. So basically, if you have a stove, a refrigerator, and a full-size sink, which is going to be my only point of issue with this, because I see where we're trying to go with this. I do, because 9,000 people have added a little accessory rental unit behind their house because times are hard, and, or your son needs a place to stay or whatever. But that to me, I understand. But if I own the property, I pay the taxes, I own the building, I think we're overstepping to say I can't have a full kitchen in my shop if I so desire. That's just my opinion. But
I kind of take issue with it too because I can think of two instances off the top of my head where I have either family members or a neighbor who's aging and her son is trying to get her to come live on his residence, on his property, but for her to have a separate space in his backyard. And so I'm thinking about what's going to happen with aging parents who need to be closer to their children, but don't necessarily want to be in the house with them.
I agree with both those points. My question is, with respect to Amanda, if we remove H, would not C and D still protect us from at least excessive abuse of what we're trying to protect against?
I think at the end of the day, and this is another reason, because this is, and I say this, so basically what I'm going to do, if I want to do a rental unit behind my house, I'm going to put in the kitchen with the sink and refrigerator, and I'm going to let Roy look, and as soon as Roy's gone, I'm going to add the stove, and I'm going to do what I want, and you're not coming in my residence after that. So, it's going to happen anyway, and so I don't want to punish the ones, and I'll give you an example, like because I do have a pool. If I want to have a kitchen in there, and I want to cook food in there for my people that are over, and we're drinking and cooking Pop-Tarts or whatever we're doing, I don't want to be punished because somebody wants to move a renter in, because it's gonna happen anyway, and then if I go by this code, then I'm being punished for something I'm not even trying to do, which I understand, you know, but I guess my point is they're gonna do it anyway. And once you get that, because we do it, I mean, and this is to be fair, what you do is you build a 3-bedroom home with no closet in the 3rd bedroom, and then you sell it. And then they move in and they put a closet in. And now the code guy's gone and legally he can't do anything about it, and now they have a 3-bedroom home. They're gonna do it anyway. So I don't wanna punish the people that are not trying to do what we're trying to avoid them doing, people that aren't doing that. So if you guys have some other, you know, opinion on that.
So that's my question is, because if we remove H, that's gone, so then you don't have to worry about the whole kitchen scenario, because I'm with Councilman Merle, that's where my brain went, was what about grandma, and what about mama, and she doesn't want to be, and I don't want her in the house with my wife, that's not going to be good, you know, right, all those things. So, and so I'm going to build a little place for her, or maybe, like you said, the older teenager now is trying to get a half step out in the world. So I'm not a huge fan of H either, but I still think at least it would still discourage just being a ton of rentals if you don't have a separate address.
The separate address and the separate meter.
And the separate meter, I think that would help, and you would still be able to achieve what we're worried about, which is grandma and son and all those, because who cares about separate address, separate meter, whereas if you're trying to really do rentals, that will become problematic, I think.
Well, and you know, and this is, I mean, it sucks, but there's a house right now, we're building a new construction home, it's in Dixon, it's not us. They had a commercial business on the property. They built a structure for rental, and they ran a power cord from the existing business on top of the ground all the way to this structure and wired it in. And so, and I don't know, you know, down the road, like even if they did, and I guess there's my other, you know, even if we find they're not compliant with this, what are we really going to do? Because there's code violations all over the city, and I've talked to the county people too, and it's like, what do you really do? You go see a judge and they do nothing. And so, is there any bite to doing this, I guess? How do you enforce, other than Roy going out and saying, well, you can't do that? And that's where I see us being. I mean, in all honesty. I mean, so you know, I talked to the county guys today, and they are going on their 3rd trip to a property who's in violation of the code, and the judge basically keeps putting off the hearing every time they go to court. And so they're what do you do? And so I hate to overly punish the ones that are not going to try to break the code, trying to bring in these people that are going to do it anyway.
Let me ask this question though. You're talking about a separate living structure, and if say my house is on less than an acre, I can't put a separate living structure on it.
Technically, no, but if you go out there to Jordan Circle, where that little girl had like 5 sheds that were all rented out to different people, and they were sheds, they were all wired off her existing house, I believe, and they were sheds like you buy, or you could buy right down here at the feed store, and she set like 6 of them up, and everybody paid their rent, and they're part of the utility. And so that's what I believe we're trying to avoid. I'm just not so sure how to do that.
What happens, I've done a bedbug job on a portable shed from grandma.
It just, you know, and I'm all for trying to prevent what we're trying to prevent, because I know it happens, I've seen it, I don't like it, it's not safe, and it's not healthy, and it's not, you know, but at the end of the day, I guess my question is, while we're doing this, where is our enforcement going to land? What happens once Roy says you're in violation? Because my fear is that the answer is nothing.
What happened with those 5 or 6 sheds?
She actually, luckily, sold, and they cleaned all that up, and he flipped the house and sold it. So that
Took
probably
care of
kind of,
itself.
but it was there and existing, and we did nothing, because our only option is through the court system, and unfortunately, that's not effective.
I don't know that I agree we did nothing. I mean, once we found out about it, then we started the process.
And I won't disagree with you there.
And what we're trying to do here is provide some clarity to code administrators.
Well, do you feel, Officer, do you feel even if you do your part and Roy does his part, that anything's going to be done in the long run.
So the way we've operated forever is off of a complaint system. So
Right.
we're not out actively looking.
Gotcha.
But if we're made aware of the situation, then we're going to do our part. Now, once it leaves us,
That's where I'm going. Right.
that's out of our hands.
And I understand that, and it's, and it's not just you guys, like I said, talking to the county, they feel the same way. They said, man, I've took pictures, I've turned it into the court, and still, they haven't cleaned it up. And he said, well, I don't know what else to do, and so.
But I don't think that we can not pass something just because we're afraid the courts won't enforce it.
I agree with you, I just don't want to try overstepping our authority trying to prevent.
So I understand and respect where you're coming from on that, I really do. But I also think at the same time, there's a reason why you see the full kitchen provision in most accessory buildings, and that is to give clarification to the building official what delineates a principal structure from not.
Got you.
And it is the kitchen. I mean, it is what it is, regardless of what people might come in and do after. I mean, you can apply that same argument to zoning, you can apply the same argument to speed limit. You can apply that same argument to every single thing that you guys look at up here.
And I don't disagree, I'm just concerned.
For further clarity, because I think I'm picking up what you're putting down here. Playing devil's advocate, so you're saying basically somebody could come in and add a whole nother house onto the same building and say, oh no, this is just my dad do.
Right.
And if we don't have that full calcified kitchen element in it, we couldn't say otherwise.
Right.
Well, if it's attached, it's not a separate structure.
No,
If
it's
it's attached, if it, go ahead.
No, that's what a dad is a detached accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah.
And so it literally would be, you own your, let's say you're on a quarter lot or half acre, whatever, and you have enough room to go put a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo on your lot and say, that's my dad do, that's my detached accessory dwelling unit. We can't say otherwise because we took out the requirement for full kitchen. And so now you basically have two structures in one.
So, back to where we are though, if you are not renting that structure or letting anyone live there, is there anything wrong with having a full kitchen in your, what do you call it?
It's a dad.
It's a detached accessory dwelling unit.
DAD.
Right. What problem is that if you're not violating the code of like using that as a second residence? Why can't you have a?
But you have to take that to its fullest conclusion, because then now Mr. Developer, who's got a permit for 50, or he's gonna put 50 units on something, is not gonna put 50 and a half on them, and really he's getting 50 with dadu units.
I get it, I do, I understand the struggle, it just bothers me.
I'm conflicted too, I'm just admit it, because I'm conflicted, because I don't want to stop somebody taking care of grandma.
Well, what's gonna happen, I'm gonna be straight honest with you, what's gonna happen is you're gonna take me, and I'm gonna end up having to violate a code to have a kitchen that I feel like I have a right to have. I'm gonna put it in anyway, just like anybody else, but now I'm breaking a code that I shouldn't have to break, because I own the property, I own the building, I don't rent it out, I'm just wanting to.
Like, where do you draw the line with an
That's
outdoor
my
kitchen or?
issue, like an outdoor kitchen. I mean, what if I build a structure and I've got 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and on the porch of the structure, I've got an outdoor kitchen for my entertainment?
What is an outdoor kitchen? What would you put in an outdoor kitchen?
I mean, you could put a
I know
full
you-
kitchen in an
yeah.
outdoor kitchen, it's just enclosed, but not completely enclosed, and so you could have,
It's usually grills, but you can have like.
Yeah, I started to say,
and I've
would
seen
you have
them,
dishwasher?
I've seen them with
refrigerator?
everything,
Okay.
depending on how much money you want to spend,
Yeah.
how big your house is.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I'm just, I'm good with all this, and I understand, and, I'm just hesitant, because I feel,
I'm conflicted with you as well, but my fear is if we do the other way around, because we don't, is that what we were then doing is we're enabling people going, oh, so he's not even in the codes, and I'm gonna proactively go out there and do it, so at least.
Well, yeah, everybody can come in and say, yeah, we're gonna put the kitchen in, but it's only for our use while we're entertaining. Well, they're lying.
well, and I think that's where we are, I'm just, I think they're gonna do it anyway.
Where the law gets
And that's because they're gonna put what's required by code or not required to be there by code, and as soon as we're out of the way, they're gonna add the full kitchen anyway. So you're not really gonna stop anything by putting it in there. You might give the code guy something to enforce, but again, if those enforcement measures aren't, if I can't see something that I feel like we're gonna be able to be like, okay, we see you violate the code, you put in the full kitchen, and we're going to stop this is how. I don't wanna punish other people that's not doing that, because at the end of the day, it's not gonna change anything. And there's and it's not you guys or us, it's just the way it is. I mean, it's,
Ron, you just talked in circles to me there.
it's just, I just feel that I don't, I don't want to punish, somebody that does just want a kitchen for their
But we don't
entertainment.
know that that's what they want it for. They can tell us that all day long.
Well, and that's the problem, though. That's what they're going to do with this requirement. They're going to say, well, I didn't put in the full kitchen. I put a sink and a refrigerator, and as soon as they're gone, they're going to slide the stove in, and there you are. I mean, I think it's going to happen.
But we can only enforce something, or even attempt to enforce it if we've got something to enforce. Without something on the books, it's like, go ahead, do whatever you want to.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I'll be honest, I think that one's going to be an issue. If we leave that in there, I don't think I can.
Well, because my thought too is with this element in there, it at least proactively stops it as a part of development. Now, after the fact, and after, yeah, you might have some code breakers in there that do exactly what you're saying, but I think that would be much less severe of having a few code breakers that are doing it after the fact than proactively enabling a developer to do it on the front end.
Well, and this is probably an Andrew question too, but don't we already have this in the code that you can't have two residential units on the same property? So
Not on accessory development. We don't, that's why we're putting it in
so
there.
you could, okay, if we're gonna do that, why don't we just say you can't live in an accessory building, period. You can't live in it. Regardless of what you have in there, if you're living in it, you're in violation of the code. Because that's just as enforceable as this. I mean,
But then that goes back to, what about aging parents?
well, and I think, I'm gonna be straight and honest. I think this would prefer they don't do that either.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have an issue.
And if I'm wrong about that, then you guys be like, oh no, but I really don't think they want grandma living in the accessory building at all. And so,
I can't imagine putting my mama in my shed back there.
Well, I think there's some confusion about how it's being
Yeah, I think we're getting way
constructed.
off track too with this.
not really, because I'll be honest with you, my shed is like my house, like you could live in there. It's got heat and air.
I've seen a lot of really nice.
It's not, it's a mini house, basically. It doesn't have a full kitchen, but it might.
Are we talking about a structure that's been finished out with drywall, electrical?
Yes, we're not talking about a ready minimal load that we're putting grandma in.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, even though I've seen that.
I don't know, and I get that, and we can what if this, and this is what the point of the work session is. But, point F specifically says portable storage on-demand containers and other structures similar in construction intent shall not be permitted as accessory buildings. So, no, we don't want grandma living in a Connex.
Right.
We don't want her living in
and
a
the one on
Connex, we want
Jordan-
her living in a place that is nice and habitable and respectable.
Because I will say, the ones on Jordan didn't even have, to my knowledge, working plumbing. They rented them out.
So this would help prevent a situation like that, hopefully moving forward, hopefully.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm not getting into this, I haven't gotten into it that deep, but from what you're telling me about, I heard about that on Jordan Circle. That's not even, to allow something like that is not even fair to other residents out there in
No.
Jordan Circle. That turns into what you call slumlord. So, okay.
And that's not the
But
only.
they didn't have a kitchen, so that's what you're saying, but people will use those kind of little, I like F a lot. I don't believe in putting a container in and trying to make it into a tiny home. I think we're gonna see that, because people are, and I like
They're
tiny
already out
homes,
there.
but yeah.
It's, because, and you learn.
But we need something to,
I would agree, because you learn as a builder, you look, and when you ride by there at 10 o'clock at night, the lights are on, and you see the TV in there, they got.
yeah, they're living there.
And most times it's family, most
Yeah,
times it's not
yeah.
a rental unit, but it's,
Yeah.
because Uncle Larry lost his job and he needs a place to stay. But like I will say, you know, it's more common as far as like what Connie was saying, like sheds that are just as nice, if not nicer, than the actual home. Because they pull those little portable deals in there, and they do just like y'all said, they drywall them, and they put a bathroom in them, and, you know, you've got a yes ma'am.
By the way, we also do have temporary dwelling units in cases of special hardship provisions already on the books.
So that would be, you know, I just want to be, I don't want to, and I do, I feel like we're overstepping our, you know, I don't see why I can't have a kitchen in my building if I so desire, as long as nobody's living there. I just don't.
I think the reason why is, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right.
Because I do agree with you. I agree and disagree at the same time. But I think on this measure is to prevent a disreputable developer from coming in here and just putting a bunch of dadu units and basically doubling his allotment. That's what I think is what this is more so proactively trying to do, because
Well, was that the intent? I mean, when you drew this up, was that the intent?
am I wrong?
There were several instances over the summer. There was one in a front yard. There were a couple that were in a front yard. That was my primary driver, in terms of just getting something on the books that says, hey, you can't have an accessory dwelling in your front yard. I don't have any specific actual cases.
Well, I don't want to point out specific things, but, no, I mean, there were specifics that we were trying to give clarity to. And that was a driving factor on this.
But they were existing applications, not to prevent a developer from doing this?
No, these were existing properties.
Yeah.
So my fear, where my brain goes to, when I was working at US Pest, I was going to do a unit, and the primary unit was, I mean, I have the exact number, but it's basically 101, and they were able to build a full-fledged tall and skinny in their backyard, and they just called it 101B. Full-fledged, everything, the whole 9 yards. I went and did a termite treatment on it, and they literally took one tall and skinny and turned it into two on the same lot, and they were able to. And so my fear, this is just my personal fear from my experience, was that someone disreputable on the development end would go, okay, and that's kind of what they would be able to pull off, because, oh, no, that's the dadu unit, we're okay. That's where my concern is at, as opposed to the one-offs of good old guys going to say, well, don't worry, I'm going to put a thing in here for grandma, and just don't worry about what, there's nothing there. I mean, but again, that's the road of the law, is it not? I mean, is overstepped, because every law we place is removing somebody's freedom. That's the road. But I think that it's more palatable for us to, in my fear, to inhibit a developer from doing what I saw versus somebody for grandma or older son. Oh, sorry, brother, you don't get an oven, I'll get you an air fryer.
Well, I wonder if would Roy give a certificate of occupancy in one of these type buildings if it didn't have a kitchen?
No.
Okay.
And that's my point right there. You don't have a certificate of occupancy, you
Then
can't
you should
live
not
in
be
it.
using it for a living.
And that's where we are. It's
Yeah.
already against the code as it is, because you can't, and I'm okay with all this, but it's already, if you don't have a certificate of occupancy, you can't live in there now. But the bottom line is, legally, once we do what we are required to do, we're not gonna push them out anyway. I can take you to several locations where this is happening right now in the city, in the backyard, in the shed, somebody lives there. Sometimes they rent them, sometimes it's family, but they're there. And after we pass this, they're still gonna be there.
I can see somebody living there if it's your son or your daughter or your grown grandkids. But when I say living there, they've got a bed there, they've got electricity, they can watch their TV, and if they want, they can have a microwave, they plug that in. I can see that. But I wouldn't think that'd be anything you would arrest anybody for or cite them to court or anything. But beyond that, if it is, I mean, this is just how I feel. If it is just something that's pulled in there and we're going to make a kitchen in it, we're going to go get a secondhand refrigerator and an old-fashioned stove, we're gonna put them a kitchen in there and put them a bed in, we've got them out of our house, they're living there. No, I don't see that.
Well, I think that we're getting way off track anyway, because all this is for is to, maybe we can't stop it if they, once they get their permit, blah, blah, blah. We can't stop it, but at least we have some recourse when we know about it. We don't have any recourse if we don't know about it, if we don't put something in place.
I mean, I'm okay with it, I'm just saying, if we leave H, I can't do it.
Well, I do have a couple of other questions too. So first of all, for B, where it talks about they're subject to standard residential permit fees. So I know at one time, if you were building a storage building, the pricing was different for a storage building versus living space. Is it all one price now for the permit?
I think it's the commercial that's different, isn't it?
I think so.
Because I know they asked if it was going to be heated or cooled, because if it was heated or cooled, it was considered living space, and that was one rate. But if it was storage only, that was a lower rate.
Right.
And so is that still in practice?
We'll find out.
Okay. Because that's what I was asking is, where it says it's subject to the standard residential permit fees, are you?
I think it's the same.
It's the same,
but
okay.
We'll find out.
Okay. And then the other thing too is, I understand you don't want these in the front yard, no one would want that, but when you say rear yards, are you talking about to the side of the house as well, or are you talking about being positioned fully behind the house?
Fully behind the house.
Because we've created some spaces here in town now where we've got really small lots, and if you've got a house that's only 15 feet from the property line, you're not going to be able to put much of a storage building behind the house.
And we agree with that.
Well, I think that's kind of limiting too.
Most of those, I guess one thing I would say, most of those situations have homeowners associations that don't allow it anyway.
I only know of one right now that has the HOA. That's Timbercrest.
Yeah,
Who
all
else?
of the units, or, I mean, not all, but I mean, a lot of the units are going to.
What are the others?
Cottages, Cornell Road.
Mount Fortune have an HOA?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know if they do.
Mike, Bell Ford's had HOA?
Yes.
Thank you. So, I have concern, just like Stephanie does, rear yards only. I mean, I disagree with that. Depending what you're calling a side yard. Is it side yard all the way to the street? I mean, the way my house is now, Roy says I have 2 front yards.
You're on a corner lot then?
Yeah. Which limits me to where I can put buildings. You know, I want to put a separate garage next to my house. But as this is written, I can't do that.
You have to adhere to the underlying provisions of your zoning district. You have to take a look.
So, I mean, anybody wants to put a separate garage next to their house on just a regular lot. It's not a corner lot.
You'd have to look at the underlying zoning district. That's
What are you talking about?
it's specifically in there, so that we can look at the specifics of how a house is placed, what all is out there, if you're a legal non-conforming lot or not. There's a lot that goes into it. That's why we have that specific provision in there.
I mean, I agree we don't want it in the front yard, just like we don't want fences in the front yard, but yet I see them all the time. There's like 3 or 4 of them in Greenfield Ridge. And as far as you say utility meters, separate utility meters, what are you calling? Like, is that water, gas, and electricity, all 3?
Those are utilities.
Okay, I understand.
Okay,
It's vague, I mean,
they're utilities.
so. I kinda agree with Carl, C and D take care of H. And I agree with Brian, that, you know, if I wanna put a full kitchen in my pool house, I will do it. So.
So boring.
Deal breaker. Brian writes the book and you get the sign, so you go right on it.
Well, I'm just saying, we shouldn't tell people that they can't put a full kitchen in their, you know, pool house or something similar to that. I mean.
Why is it in the international, why is it in the international building code?
Because it's the distinguishing between that's what makes the principal structure a principal structure. And I'm not gonna comment anymore on the building code, because I'm not your building official.
Right.
I mean, really, we need to have Roy here for that particular.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to sound flip or like I'm gonna refuse to talk about it. It's just, I don't wanna get too far out of my lane on talking about the building code. I mean, I know we've got developers up here on the dais, but we don't have a counter office for the building official side, and I'm not equipped to do that.
And I'm not trying to draw this out either, but on F, where it talks about cargo containers, there are some companies here in Middle Tennessee that are actually building homes out of cargo containers. So, I mean, are we saying that that type of construction would never be allowed?
No, that's just for accessory, for storage. If someone's gonna take a Maersk and, you know, Johnny Hogan's, you know, lot over there and decide they're gonna put it in their front yard as a temporary, you know, storage unit and then forget to move it 10 years later. This doesn't contemplate alternative housing building.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just keep in mind, I mean, this would be for first reading if you choose to pass it, and then we've got another month to work through any issues or whatever you all want to do.
Which one?
We're going to enforce what you all pass.
Which one did you say is current? Which,
I think we already have F on the books, right?
did you say F, G, and H are current?
F, G, and H, I believe, are already on the books.
So, I mean, if H is already there, I'm not sure.
What are we talking about?
Hold on, let me pull up the exact.
I think, and it may very well be on the books, but it also depends on which building code, if we've adopted that year, because if we haven't adopted that year, then it wouldn't apply, but if we have adopted that year in its full entirety, then that's, you know, which is,
I misspoken.
21.
The current, I've misspoken. The current accessory use regulations, as it reads in whole, be customary incidental to principal use established on the same lot, be subordinate to and serve such principal use, be subordinate in area, intent, and purpose. No accessory building shall extend beyond the required front yard of the principal building or beyond the required front, side, or rear yard of the lot and shall not exceed 20 feet in height. Those are the
that's
four
what's there now.
that are on the books as of this moment. The use of the land, buildings, and other structures permitted in each of the districts established by this ordinance are designed by listing the principal uses. In addition to such principal uses, accessory uses which are customarily, incidental to the permitted uses are also permitted in each district. Each accessory use shall, and then it says more. So I apologize, I misspoke.
Well, y'all ponder it. That's all I want to do.
Personally, I'm just so torn, because I don't even like some of the, I'm from Alabama, forgive me. Because I'm over here like, well, man, if you want to put a cargo thing on the back of your lot and use it as your tool shed, I'm fine with it. I might be cutting up here, but that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't care, but like I said, what I don't want is for somebody to proactively do a neighborhood and try to proactively break the
And
law.
I will,
I don't know.
between now and I will take you to where I know this is happening right now and let you see how I know that that's what's going on.
Well, no, I'm not questioning that it's going on.
Well, and I really, you know, while we're on this topic, because I don't think it's a bad topic, I think it's a good topic, but I think we need to dig deeper than just here. I think we need to talk about, okay, we're going to pass this, and I know where there's one out, what are we going to do? And if that answer is there's nothing we can do, because once we report it to the courts, it goes nowhere, then I don't see the point of adding more and more and more restrictions.
These people though that you're gonna show us that this is happening. I know one or two.
Exactly.
But are they grandfathered in? Is there anything we can?
They're against code right now.
They're, yeah.
So that's the thing, like, they're violating the code right now today. But, and I agree with Jeff, they do their part in the equation, and then nothing beyond that happens. And so, with that said, I hate to keep restricting people's rights in an attempt to change something that I don't see changing.
So, you think it's okay?
I don't think it's okay, I just don't think there's anything we can
There's
do
nothing
about
we
it.
can do about it, okay.
Yes, and
Because
that's
I don't want to misunderstand.
No, I don't love it. I don't love it at all. I think the intent of this is positive, because I do think you end up with these multiplex units on a single family lot.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, I mean, I would be more lenient if it was grainy, but a lot of them are not grainy. A lot of them are just, you know, my cousin got out of jail and he had anywhere to go, so I fixed up the shed and that's where he lives.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, I don't know, I guess I would just like to dig deeper, and maybe that's an Andrew question, okay, if we're gonna get more restrictive and give ourselves more teeth, what are we going to accomplish with that?
What was your cousin in jail for?
Hey, my cousin, man, he should be in jail.
So, because I agree with Scott's point too. If he wants to build on the side of his house, or he wants to put another garage because he loves cars, I don't have a problem with that personally, because I can see how that works. Where y'all heard my example with the guy with the two tall and skinny. I don't want that. So it's like, how do we navigate that reasonably? I don't want to inhibit Granny from coming to live on the property, who's still mobile, just needs somebody and wants to cook it, or because she loves cooking, you know, that she just needs somebody looking out. I don't want to inhibit that. I don't want to inhibit my neighbor from putting whatever kind of shed he wants in his back. I mean, so these are not questions I enjoy. But yeah, I kind of do.
You want to kind of think about this?
You and I are going to talk more.
Y'all want to kind of think about this, and let's talk about it Thursday night more. And I mean, maybe you can, if you've got any questions, you can talk to Roy, you can talk further to Jeff, and yeah. All right. So we are now, we're done with the sprinkler requirement. Now we're done with this one until Thursday night. Go on down to the E911 interlocal agreement.
Mayor, this is the agreement between the town and the Dixon County Emergency Communication District. Andrew put this together and said he would be happy to go over it in detail on Thursday. But basically, what it does is it of course names the amount of the whole contract. It outlines the town's portion of that and what the town will receive in return for that amount. I did check with Chief Vulture and Chief Deal today to verify that the number of mobile and portable radios that the agreement outlines seems correct. I did ask Andrew one question just for clarification that we'll know by Thursday night. It outlines the financing, it outlines repayment schedules and all of that stuff. So I know we've talked about this a lot of times. This is just the actual interlocal agreement that all the entities are going to be asked to participate in.
It looks like our portion for 5 years would be $48,995 a year for each year, based on what they got the price down to, the $244,000.
Yeah, the town of White Bluff should make an annual payment of at least 1/5 of the total cost by June 30th of each fiscal year.
Why do we have two?
Which one? What?
We've got 253 here and 244.
Just because they got a partial grant that got it down to that.
Gotcha.
2 additional radios to it.
That was that, but it dropped from 253 to 244 because the county got a, I guess it's the county, whoever's buying all of them, got a partial grant that reduced our cost.
Okay, any questions or discussion on that? Moving on down to streets and sidewalks, discuss second final reading ordinance to amend the White Bluff Municipal Code, Title 15, motor vehicles, traffic and parking. Chapter 6, parking, and Chapter 7, enforcement regarding on-street parking. Note, a public hearing will precede this action at the special call meeting. This is about the parking on the streets that we talked about last month. And if you, well, yeah, second final reading, we'll have a public hearing on that. Do y'all have anything else to talk about this? Okay. Discuss offer of irrevocable dedication to accept Shells Way and Bell Circle in the Bell Forge subdivision as town streets.
Mayor, we've been approached by the developer to consider accepting Shells Way and Bell Circle in the Bell Forge subdivision. You previously accepted Diane Loop. So these are the last 2 remaining streets in Bell Forge. The developer has done everything that we've asked them to do. So you've got the signed and notarized dedication offer. Schedule A on the back just shows you the streets in question. And the Planning Commission set a $22,500 one-year maintenance bond. And you've got the bond paperwork there in the amount that the Planning Commission set.
Any questions or discussion on that?
It's like Shells Way was recently paved, it's like all the, has the final blacktop on it and painted, looks nice.
Yes, I agree.
Moving on down to parks and recreation, I don't have anything to talk about tonight. Do y'all have any questions or anything you want to bring up from parks and recreation? Okay. We had another successful, enjoyable Main Street Festival. That was very good, very good. Old business, any old business?
What's going on with the firing range?
So I did talk to, and I've got that and one more thing. I did talk to Danny Williams, and he recommended that we get with our engineer and see if they would do a topography study. He said he might be willing to donate for dirt work if we can get him on paper what we want. And so, but he said, you're going to need the engineer for that because you can't just go out there and say, well, I want this flat. He's like, I need papers to be able to. So I'll get with Jeff and we will.
Okay.
And then just to let everybody know, the sign, of course, everybody's seen the sign. Mr. Danny is going to dig the ditch for us for the conduit. We're going to install the conduit and the wiring, hopefully this week, and get the sign going. So he's donating his work, and we'll of course donate the electrical part of it. So hopefully we'll get some lights here before long.
Thank y'all. You and Danny, thanks a lot. And you've had training on the signs already, haven't you?
I haven't had training, but I'm probably gonna have to do it a couple more times. There's a lot of tricks
Gotta
you
do a
can
lot.
do with it,
Yeah.
yeah. But, I mean, basic, yes. Fancy,
They are, they're doing the actual tie-in of the electrical. I told them, A1 Sign said they would do that part, because we don't want the liability of shorting the sign out. That would be bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're gonna come and tie it in.
Okay. All right. New business to discuss employee handbook update. Jeff, you've been working with Fred.
Yeah, so the last, the employee handbook that we're working on now went into effect November the 7th, 2021. So we're almost going to hit that to the day if you all choose to accept it. There's just been not a lot, but there's just been law changes that we need to get things updated, particularly the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act is one that we've added to the handbook. We've pulled out a couple of things, grievance procedure, abusive conduct prevention, just points that we want to make a better emphasis on, so we pulled those out of, so we've added some sections to it. Exempt employee section, lactation accommodations, again, that's under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. We've expanded, AI is one of those things, it can be good, used correctly, but people may need some guidance, so we've added a section on artificial intelligence. I would ask you all to just kind of look through that, and if you're comfortable with it, we'd like to get that passed, and so we can get some of these new laws recognized and know how we're going to handle things.
Don't know. You'll have to Google that.
It's probably the most thorough employee handbook we've had all the time, but in today's world, you have to have it.
So Andrew has reviewed it
Yes.
already.
And I noticed on the back, you have to sign that
We
you
give
have
it
read
to
this,
you.
yes, yes. So that you can never come in and say, I didn't know.
And that's really good, because
Yes.
I have workplaces that when there was a disagreement, all of a sudden the employee handbook would alter.
Come out. Oh,
And
yeah.
it was like, wait, that's not, yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll hear from adjournment.
You wanna go home?
Yeah. I mean, no,
Yeah, I don't expect a motion, so.
Call for it. Adjourn.